Hey, it's Deborah Atkinson. I'm back with tip number 2. And if you didn't see tip number 1, it also is about the back. Go and see that one. But today I'm talking about what if you have lower back pain? Does that really mean you have a weak back or you have a tight back and you need to spend time stretching and or strengthening your core so that you can protect it? It might, but here's what often is much more true. If you think about the body and how it's stacked up, so if it were stacked up and you've got your knees and then your hips and then your lower back and then your upper back and then your shoulder blades, it should go every other one is a stable joint and a mobile joint, a stable joint and a mobile joint. And the truth about the lower back is it's actually supposed to be stable. When you're tight in the wrong places, you'll leverage because there's a lot of rotation that can happen at that lower back if you're not loose where you should be, you're not mobile where you should be, or flexible where you should be. So the problem areas can be your upper back. If you're not flexible and able to turn and rotate through your upper back as you should be, or if your hips are too tight. You do a lot of sitting just like this at a desk, and or maybe on the weekends you're a weekend warrior. Those two actually both contribute to tighter hips, because then after being the weekend warrior Monday through Friday, you go and do a lot of sitting at your desk in between, and those muscles that were getting tight from being used are getting tighter from being not used or ill used, and that's a bad combination. So if you want to release your lower back pain or reduce the chance that you ever get it, you want to make sure that your hips are mobile and hips are loose. And one way to do that, no matter what you're doing, even if you do have a desk job, now you're not going to want to do this in a dress, but you want to take one ankle, cross it over the other knee, and just sit as upright as you can, get your spine as long and tall as you can, and then you're going to turn toward that knee and press forward. So you're leaving your back as flat as possible till you feel a stretch through the hip. And if you're tight, it doesn't take much. So you're just going to hold that stretch until it releases. To do the other leg, because they won't be exactly the same, just do the same thing. Sit upright, rotate toward that knee, and then bring yourself out and over that leg. Pressing the knee down toward the floor, not with your hands, but pressing it to activate the muscles, gets into that deep hip muscle called the piriformis. And if you don't take care of it, it can be called piriformis syndrome. And that sounds like a problem that you don't want. That would be correct. But keep those muscles nice and loose. So you can do this stretch while you're sitting at a desk. You can do it on the floor, lying on your back, bringing that knee toward you. You can also do pigeon pose in yoga, if you're familiar with that. Another way to stretch those hips, or do all three and just rotate when you do them. If you keep your hips mobile and stretched, not only deep in the hip, but your hip flexors every time you stand and you have a chance to get away from that desk, open up that hip, your lower back will thank you, as will your knees. So if you have knee trouble, it's not always the joint that's bothering you. Sometimes it's the joint above or below that joint that is the problem. So almost all of us need to stretch our hips more. So I hope you tried it with me. If you didn't, do it again now. And I'll see you next time for tip 3.